Hey, good morning and welcome all. Happy Saturday. Hope everybody's having a nice day so far. So, welcome. Today, we're going to be diving back down the route netlink rabbit hole. Should be a pretty fun time. I kind of want to rework the network state listener because the way I've got it right now is suboptimal. So, I'll explain that in a little bit. Yeah, first to get started, so I wanted to point out I've made this repo called stream on GitHub. So github.com/mdlayer/stream. This contains some of the metadata about my stream and such, as well as like my pre-flight checklist and things like that. But also, I'm trying out an experiment. I am using this as an issue tracker. So these are all ideas that I could possibly tackle on stream, or I may tackle somewhere else. So today we're actually going to do number 4, which is the rework the route netlink code. So, yeah. We're gonna get started on this, but if you have any suggestions for things you would like to see on stream, this is the place to do it. So feel free to file an issue. I'm happy to discuss if I think something's feasible or not. But that being said, like if you're gonna tell me like, oh, implement TCP, like it's gonna be pretty low down the priorities list because ultimately I'm more motivated by projects that'll be useful for me. So perhaps if we can have a discussion or come up with something cool, that'd be fun. But yeah, I think I've got some pretty good ideas in here so far. So looking at this, some of the things, building a Go package to control modem manager via dbus. I have never played with dbus before. I tried a little bit yesterday, but I don't understand anything about it yet, so we'll get there. Building a TFTP server with Prometheus metrics shouldn't be too bad. I got a few other things in here as far as like controlling different devices and such. Controlling the Linux watchdog device is actually a pretty interesting thing. It's basically like presents itself as a small character device on Linux, and the idea with a watchdog is if your computer doesn't send it a message within a certain period of time, it'll just go ahead and reset the machine, so it can indicate if user space is locked up, which is pretty cool. So right now systemd can do this for me, so don't really need it as much, but it could be kind of fun to write like a good Go package for that, right? So yeah, I've got some ideas so far, but if you have any other ideas, feel free to drop them in this repository, create an issue. I would be happy to take a look. So let's get started with what we're doing today. Let's see here. So basically the way the story goes here is I have this netstate package, and this netstate package, kind of its job is to listen for network state changes for our route netlink. So for example, when an interface goes up or down or something, I want to know about it in my application so I can react accordingly. And I built something like this that seems to work, but what it basically does is it will take a group of messages and coalesce them all into a single message. But the problem is that I don't think that design is granular enough. So I think what I want to do today pretty much is make a copy of this package and just kind of almost start over and see like how I would do this to provide more granularity and possibly lose some cross-platform flexibility, but I'm not really sure yet. So at the moment, this only supports route netlink. Basically, the idea is we want to open a route netlink connection and listen for state changes with regards to links, which is your network interface, and then IPv6 addresses. So if the IPv6 link local address is not ready or is tentative, can you increase the size of the font size of the sidebar files? I probably could, but I'm probably not going to bother just because I can just try and tidy it up a little bit. I'm probably not going to bother because like this is not that important, you know? But I see what you mean. The thing is like if we're in the middle of something, sometimes I'll just get rid of it altogether. By the way, Muley, welcome. Thank you for the follow. So I'll probably leave that alone, but perhaps it's something I can look into. I don't actually know how to change the font size of that, but we're mostly going to be focused on the editor anyway. So like I was saying, we want to watch for state changes with route netlink. The basic idea is we'll open a connection, and whenever a state change happens, this receive method will receive it. We can get some messages, and then we can notify and process whoever's listening. Cool. And when we're done, we want to be able to cancel this via context. So we set a deadline of a time in the past, which will cause the listener to immediately unblock. And from there, we can close the listener. So I think probably what I want to do today is make a copy of this package and possibly just start over. So I guess we'll just go ahead and copy netstate into a new directory, netstate2. And I was working on a small example program, this NS test thing. I was playing with this just a little bit yesterday. I kind of wanted to get a direction for this. So netstate2, netstate2. Hello? Oh, right. If I change the package name, I have to change all the imports. Right. Okay. Well, I think probably what we'll do for netstate2 is we'll go ahead and remove a bunch of the files that we don't need for now. So netstate2, let's see here. So we'll remove all the tests. We're going to start over. We'll remove the other code. We only care about Linux. We're going to remove the change concept because I don't think it's quite right either. So now we're down to 3 files. So netstate2, 2, and 2. Okay. So the point now is to get this compiling again, and then we'll see what happens. So main.go, different. Did I not save these? Maybe I didn't. So this change map, some of these concepts are going to completely go away. So changes go away, filter that stays. Get rid of this for now. I apologize for not talking through all of my thought process here. I just, to start out, I have some ideas I kind of want to go with. So when you subscribe for changes on an interface, you're going to subscribe by name. So this method's going to go away. Basically, the way this worked before is you would say that given an interface name, I want to listen for changes based on certain categories of changes. The problem is that, for example, when you set an interface up and down with route netlink, you'll actually receive a variety of different changes. So I want the ability to do this in a more fine-grained way, and I think I'm going to leave the debouncing of messages up to the caller. So you'll receive an entire batch of messages, and it's up to you to decide what you care about versus my library doing it, because if the library does it, then we're ultimately going to kneecap some callers who really care. This seems relevant to current interests. I still don't actually understand how netlink works. Yeah, so basically the point with netlink is it's just kind of a user space to kernel interface. Like it's a socket interface that's more flexible than like the old school ioctl type stuff. And in this case, route netlink is the family that can be used to manipulate the kernel's interface state and such. So you can create network links, you can assign addresses, you can manipulate routes, you can listen for changes. It does all of these different things. So today, the stuff we're doing is read-only. We're not going to actually create interfaces through this at all. We potentially could for the tests, but that's a different story. So what we have so far, subscribe by name. You're going to listen for all of the changes. So things like v4 and v6 addresses and such. Oh, you've only dealt with sock diag. That's another netlink family, right? Not mess with any subscription-based uses. Yeah. So the basic idea with that is netlink can be used for your typical request response type stuff, or it can also be used for subscriptions, multicast groups. So if you want to join a group on startup, you specify this netlink config. You specify this group's bitmask. So this tells me I care about link changes and v6 address changes. And this will give me changes for every single interface. So what I'm going to have to do is whichever interfaces CoreRAD is not listening on, I'm going to have to filter that. So that's something we're going to work on today as well. Alternatively, my netlink package also offers you can do C join group. Go please is not working because this doesn't compile at the moment, but you can actually join and leave groups on the fly as well. Let's get this compiling. 45. Excuse me. I just ate breakfast, so hopefully not burping too much, but... So I think these changes are going to be roughly kind of what I'm thinking along the lines of is a change will be something like a state. So operational state maybe. So maybe like an enum and then this sys. And I think we're going to mimic what the standard library does here. So you get a cross-platform interface that says like, hey, something happened to this interface, but then you get this sys type, which you can use with a type assertion to get into the OS-specific code. So, for example, the netlink messages. I don't know for sure how this is going to look yet. We'll see. So this goes away. Let's see here. So the idea is we want to start watching for changes and provide a subscription mechanism. So when the caller says, I care about changes for this interface, they get a channel with all of the changes. So what I had before was basically you could filter and say, I only care about link up and link down and such. I think that it's probably going to be in best interest to leave that to the caller or possibly to provide a filtering function from the caller. So we'll see. A lot of this is going to go away. Yeah. I'm just gonna end up starting over pretty much. So return OS watch, WOS watch, CTX. So the idea being here, we have this cross-platform interface which has no OS-specific code, and this OS watch function or similar will be the method that we call into, which is in this watch or Linux code. So this opens a route netlink connection. Let's see here, get rid of that. Failed to dial route netlink. Okay, this is the listening patterns we mentioned before. So whenever we receive these messages here, we want to process. So for now, there is no notify function anymore. Process. Given a set of route netlink messages you receive from the socket, we need to do something with them. So maybe not a change set. I think some of this is going to go away. Basically where I was at, I still don't know if we're going to want this or not. This is tricky. The problem is here is that we need to find out together what exactly this microphone arm is kind of cheap, and I don't know. Might end up replacing this. Anyway, what we need to find out together is what it is about these messages we actually care about, because there's lots of different fields, but for example, we don't care about the majority of them. We care about things like the state changes. We care about v6 addresses being temporary or tentative versus what are they called in the kernel? They're tentative when they're being assigned and they're doing duplicate address detection. I don't know what they're being called after that. They're permanent, maybe? I don't know. Off the band. Hey, welcome. Nice to see you. So I think pretty much what I had at the moment was we're just going to dump out these changes. Hey, happy Saturday to you as well. Did I get rid of all these types? I think I did. Too many arguments to return. Okay, let's get this compiling. There are no changes at the moment. This is all handled within the library at the moment. So the NS test thing I was talking about, we have basically a tiny little main at the moment, and what this does really is we create a watcher, we subscribe to changes on CoreRAD v0 with no mask anymore, and then we're just going to consume changes off the channel. In this case, we're doing it within the library because we don't know what we're going to return yet. Anyway, changes. So we need to create a channel for the caller. Okay. So change C, channel of change, and we'll buffer it a little bit. Oh, excuse me. I hate when you try to breathe and swallow at the same time. Play from the internal code. Okay. And now we have all these constants that we need to, yeah. So in theory, there is this operational state concept, and I guess this is defined in some RFCs. So in theory, other OSs implement it as well. And it's kind of nice because it could give us more information. But hey, the Sloaner, welcome. Thank you for the follow. I am curious if you're somebody I know in real life based on that username. I guess I'll find out soon, won't I? So this operational state concept, these are constants that are defined in some RFC, and I guess they're kind of useful. Like, they could be useful for indicating... It is! Nice! Hey, welcome, man. Good to see you. I'm curious if these constants will be generally useful. I think they might be, so maybe we want to bring those back, actually. So, let's see here. So we'll take these... Off topic, I hate front end, especially React. Just a lot to take in. Yeah, my front end knowledge is so limited, honestly. I think that front end people, like, they don't get enough credit for the problems they have to deal with, especially with as far as like browser compatibility and everything goes. I just don't know enough to. I mean, I don't know. I'm so far removed from that world. Like, everything I do is the closest thing I do to front end is an HTTP API, and frankly, I find those kind of boring these days. Like, I have a lot more fun kind of digging around in the weeds of like networking stuff. So, operational state. So we're gonna make this type here. So each of these messages is gonna come with an operational state value in this sys, which is gonna be your netlink messages that correspond to that, I think. And we're gonna use the ghost view package because we want to dump out the messages for now. So let's see here. That's like saying people who clean sewers don't get enough credit. True, but still shitty work. Not bad. Yeah, I'm not gonna hate I excuse me. I know they face some challenging problems for sure. Oh, hey Eric, welcome. Cut my teeth in web development, then started working my way down the stack. Now I can't design my way out of a wet paper bag. Yeah, me too. I'm so thankful for like Hugo and things like Bootstrap because I can make a nice looking website like with no effort. So for example, like you look at I forgot I don't have autocomplete. mdlayer.com. You know, this is some theme I stole from somebody or from, you know, Hugo. CoreRAD.net is another theme. It's like, I'm so glad I don't have to do this myself, even though it's pretty minimal, right? Like, I'm just not capable. Java or Python, and why? How about Go? Out of those two, I would prefer Python because I think that it kind of the simplicity kind of matches my mental model a little bit better than the abstractions of Java. But that being said, use what works for you. You buy themes or beg friends for my twin brother to help me with design work. Nice. Yeah, I didn't actually know you could buy themes. That'd be something I should look into maybe. But some of the free ones are really nice, so I can't complain too much. Cannot use as type change. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, so this is going to return an operational state now instead. Themeforest.net. Oh, okay. Cool. Good to know. Did not know about that. Does this work? This compiles. Yay. Okay. Main.go. There's no... Yes, there is no network interface because CoreRAD v0 does not exist right now. So... Huh. I guess that's problematic. So... With the old API, I think you could subscribe to an interface before it actually existed, and now you can't, which is a little problematic, maybe. Huh. So I guess maybe this package has to account for that case. Like you can give it a name, but it won't produce any changes in that channel until the interface exists, right? Maybe that's the correct way to go here. You can buy themes and then spend a week to trim them down. Megabytes of JS and CSS for things you'll never need. I actually, my website used to have Google Analytics, but it was actually slowing things down. I was kind of concerned about the privacy concerns, so I got rid of it. So now both of my websites, mdlayer.com and CoreRAD.net, are like crazy fast because it's just like, you know, minified HTML and CSS like all bundled in. So we need to create the development interfaces really quick. So develop, we will create the Vth pair I use for development, and then we can manipulate those to actually get state changes. So again, we have a problem now because before the old API could account for interfaces that already didn't exist, but let's see here. Yeah, this is problematic. So to figure out the story for interfaces which don't exist at start time. You had Google Analytics, but then GDPR happened. Yeah, removing analytics was better than any cookie warnings. Yeah, I agree with that. Hey, welcome, Large Data Bank. Good to see you here. Enjoyed your stream yesterday. I heard you had some more internet problems after I left. Apologize for that. You know, hopefully it's all better pretty soon now. So let's go ahead and make this interface go up and down really quick. IP link. Yeah, I was doing this yesterday. So sudo IP link set down. So if we do this and we set the interface state down, you'll see we get some route netlink messages being dumped here. So let's see. CoreRAD v0, operational state 2, which corresponds to net state 2, operational state 1. Oh, that's down. Oh, I think I removed the stringer, didn't I? I probably had stringer for this before, and I do not anymore. Sad. So this means the interface went down. That's good. That's what we'd expect. And then there's the address message, and we haven't actually looked at the address messages yet. There's 2 address messages. So this indicates that something happened here. So it looks like it had 2 addresses, right? So this is a ULA, and this is a link local. So I'm guessing this is part of my development setup, right? So if I looked at my scripts here, yeah, we assigned this prefix to CoreRAD v0 because I wanted to test something. So we actually have 2 addresses. So this indicates that both of the addresses were removed. So we get 3 messages for the same event, but they're all conveying slightly different things. But before, this would coalesce those all into one, like the link went down. I didn't think that was quite right. So that's exactly why we're starting over. Definitely had to do with the massive storm yesterday. No fun. Wish I had Google Fiber. Yeah, me too, for sure. I could go with gigabit uplink. Are these netlink hooks specific to IP route 2? Specific to IP route 2. So IP route 2 is basically the Hello World application built on top of route netlink, and route netlink is basically the Hello World for netlink as a whole. So they're three separate concepts. People conflate them sometimes. So one of the biggest reasons I started my own netlink package is because there's a Go package called netlink that does netlink sockets plus route netlink plus IP route 2. It pretends to be IP route 2, and like I just don't I didn't like it. It's just too much all in one. So I started my own, and it's worked out pretty well. So IP route 2 is the application you use, but we are using the same interface that IP route 2 uses, which is route netlink, or RT netlink for short. I just spelled out route netlink in the title and everything today. So I'm guessing both these messages have to do with the addresses being deleted. I guess we should take a look at that, right? So, well, first, I guess let's set the link back up and see what happens. Okay, so operational state 6, which I really shouldn't have removed the stringer stuff. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so when you set it up, it says link lower layer down. I have no idea what that means. Like, I don't understand why you would get that when a link comes up. State 0 means the link is up. Yes, that's what we'd expect. And then we get a couple of addresses assigned, so we get the link local, but the other one does not come back because the interface went down. So we get 3 messages here indicating the lower layer is down. Okay. It sets it up, and then we add an IP address. I wonder if IP route 2 will ever get good error messages as opposed to raw netlink errors. Probably not. RT netlink says permission denied. The Rust ecosystem around netlink is just as confusing as Go's, or it's just me, probably me actually. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The thing is, like I mentioned, like lots of people think that these are all the same concept, and they're just not. Like netlink is a transport. Route netlink is a specific way of speaking netlink, and IP route 2 is a friendly interface on top of netlink that allows you to manipulate your IP addresses and such. So I think there's just a lot of confusion. These are things I've tried to solve, but the existing incumbent netlink package is pretty entrenched in like the Kubernetes ecosystem and such, so I suspect it's just never really going to go away, you know. But we're making progress. People are more and more converting to mine, which makes me happy. So we should look at these address messages. We should figure out how to assign those in operational state. Well, I guess we can't assign those in operational state because that concept doesn't exist for IPs. So we want to know, I assume these flags probably, right? So probably this flags field will indicate what's going on. So we're going to have like Unix, IFF flags and stuff like that. So if we go to, let's see here. Hey, C-Bro, welcome. Happy Saturday. This is gonna be a day. It's kind of funny because I think I suspect I know more about netlink than, you know, most people, but still I'm very confused by all of the flags and possible different states. So what is this package? JSIMonetti RT netlink. This is built on top of my netlink package, so I'm using this one. I'm curious what kind of flag this exposes, or does it expect you to? Maybe it expects you to net device 7. Yeah. So these are all flags that are probably defined in the Unix package. So IFF, I know these flags pertain to interfaces. Oh, IFA, here we go. So IFAF, so interface address flag. So this is where you can get things like duplicate address detection. So these are the things we actually care about this level. We want to know if duplicate address detection is done and the link is no longer tentative. So these are things that we care about. So I wonder if we can subscribe to changes that would happen when you get like the tentative flag and when the tentative flag goes away. So let's see. Is it worth copying these into my package and then using stringer on them? Because that way I'd at least be able to like see these things as like symbols rather than integers. Let's try this really quick. So we are going to cheat. So these are all copies at the moment. We're going to use the stringer tool. I can never remember how to do it. Let's see here. So stringer. I'm pretty sure I've got it installed on my computer, but right here, go generate stringer. Type equals, I have to give these type now. Type equals address flags, UN32. Address flags. Have you dabbled in C in kernel development? I have not. I am interested in doing so, and actually I saw there was a mailing list thread this morning about some of the higher-ups in the Linux kernel being open to adding Rust for device drivers, which is pretty damn cool. So maybe there will be some kernel development in my future, you know? You're curious if it's worth the effort, although would probably really help in understanding how the kernel actually works. Yeah, totally. I think that kernel development it's something I've always wanted to try. I think I just lack a lot of the background context in that area, but I would say it's definitely worth looking into. You know, that could be you could find something you really like, you know, something you really enjoy. You can also run the stringer utility yourself, which I find easier than messing with Go generate. Oh, I guess that's true, isn't it? I guess I'm so used to the Go generate way, it didn't even occur to me. Someone ought to make a stringer that works on types and other packages, maybe by generating a function instead of a method or wrapper type. Yeah, that would be really nice, actually. So I wouldn't have to copy these. I started trying to learn eBPF, but apparently you also need to understand some kernel code stuff to get good with it. Yeah, maybe. I wonder if, let's see here. There are several friends of the stream who have played with eBPF. Like, if Florian is in here, I think Florian has played with eBPF somewhat. Otherwise, definitely folks like Tobias Klauser. He works on the Golang.org X Unix stuff a lot, and he works at Cilium as well, which is super cool. So he'd be a good person to consult as well. Kernel development is something I've always aspired to do. I'd love to get a passion in the kernel one day. Yeah, me too. I think it's one of my lifelong open source dreams. We need to go generate at state 2. No values defined. Ah, right. Isn't the whole point of eBPF to hook into the kernel? So yeah, it helps knowing the kernel functions and data structures. Yeah, totally. Very true. Is this gonna work? It is. Address flags. Boom. Read a post from Linus 2 weeks back when he mentioned Rust for kernel development. The interesting thing is that he also mentioned Go together with Rust and not Rust alone. Really? I guess I'm curious, like, I don't think Go would ever fit in a kernel context. Like, I mean, Go is certainly like a great language, but I don't know. That's interesting. I definitely try to avoid C, though. Yeah, you know, C's not too bad. I find the problem is that people often write C at a higher level than I am capable of understanding. Like, lots of tricks. And I can understand, like, plain C code just fine, but... Please don't put GC in my kernel. Yeah. Let's take a look at this now and see what happens here. So, in theory, now we should have some symbols or some strings. Operational state. Oh, we're not actually using these, are we? Let's do that really quick. Let's get the interface flags too while we're at it. So we have the IFAs, now we need the IFFs, right? I have no idea what half these even do. Michael Stofferberg on Twitch is the creator of i3WM. He does a lot of kernel level stuff on Twitch. Yeah, Michael would be a good person to ask about that sort of stuff. He is sometimes in the stream as well. I guess I'm not sure if he's busy today or something, but he's usually around as well, so perhaps he'll chime in. You might hear his name and then start paying attention. Or at very least, I think he's idling in the IRC channel, so if you mention him, he'll probably show up. The Twitch IRC channel, that is. Let's see here, make some more constants for these flags. So the thing is here is we want to figure out what these flags are and what they mean to us. So, and the easiest way to do that, rather than writing a whole bunch of switches and bit masking stuff, is to get the symbolic versions, I think. Interface flags, UN32. Same deal as before. Multi-cursor all the way. Interface flags. You could also conceivably go generate the stringer stuff and then have it point at the constants in the other package to avoid the duplication. Yes, that is true. I think the thing is I'd rather not duplicate these constants at all. Like, I probably will get rid of this duplication, but I think that for the time being, we're going to have these in here because I just want to understand these a little better. So now, interface flags, right? So let's dump the interface flag state. So flags, interface flags. What happens now? So we need to go generate one more time. I guess we can go to the other directory down here. That's state 2. I guess I should clarify. Today I expect to be one of those days where we might find that what we're doing doesn't work at all. We'll see. No promises. Interface flags 4098. Oh, I guess it doesn't account for bit masks, does it? Shoot. So I'm not sure this actually does us any good because, as is implied by this, it's a bit mask, or it's like a hex number that we have to actually pull apart using bit operations. So 4098. Well, it's probably 4096 is a pretty round number, so perhaps there's just like a couple of flags there. How do I tackle this? I guess the problem is that, like, I mean, I can look at I can look at what IP link show dev CRAD v0. Wait, really? How am I not permitted to show the state of the link? Hello? What does S do in this context, I wonder? Oh, maybe it's short for set. That's annoying. So the flags the interface currently has are broadcast and multicast. Okay, so this hex, where's broadcast? Yeah, so 4096 2. Yes, that's roughly what I expect. So broadcast, multicast, right? At least in the hex versions. Okay. But the state is still down. So the interface flags maybe are not what we want at all. Maybe we just want the operational state. Oh, but there's also a flag that's specified up and lower up. So maybe the flags we need to care about are up and lower up, right? I mean, I would assume that all of my interfaces that, all my interfaces that are doing this. So maybe readiness to us indicates the up and lower up flags. Okay. Let's make a couple of notes. This is for addresses. Let's see here. So we have the operational state as well as look for flags up, lower, lower up, right? And for addresses, I want to look at the state for that as well. So if we bring the link up, we will see IPAS dev CRAD v0. So there is, let's see here, this address, scope link valid. But when this is coming up and doing duplicate address detection, it will mention other flags here. So right now I'm guessing there are no flags for this, but let's take a look. Address flags, M flags. Is that really only a UN8? Hang on. It is. That's a much smaller flag set. I thought it was UN32. Well, but these are out of range for UN. Maybe I'm in the wrong field? How do you come up with all these ideas? I don't know. I wouldn't really say I have ideas yet. I would say that we're kind of diving down the rabbit hole together, and we're just going to kind of see what happens. So, address message contains address flags. Okay. So, did they start this with just a uint8 and then decide to add more? Because there is address message flags and then there's address attributes flags. So, if I had to guess, they probably wanted to expand the scope, or they ran out of bit flag space in this uint8 and they probably made this expanded field. So I'm guessing these have roughly the same values. Let's take a look. So we have M flags and M attributes flags. Some more flags, exactly. We'll cast both these to convert flags. Does it not tell you the flag type of address message flags? Yeah, we're gonna find out now, actually. The problem is if it's like a bit mask, it doesn't register. Denny1111, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Did I stop in the middle of a thought here? That would be pretty obnoxious. So I've seen patterns like this before. So for example, in neighbor discovery or NDP, they actually don't have enough space for all the flags they wanted to add. So there is a flags extension option as well. So this is something that happens in protocols like this. So IFAF permanent. So we got a couple of different, I guess some of these are the interface states. Let's ignore interfaces for now. Oh. So it looks like what's happening here is Oldhead, welcome. Thank you for the follow. I think what I'm seeing here is duplicate address detection in action. So when an IPv6 address comes up on a link, it actually sends out a message over the network to verify nobody else is using it, kind of like what ARP does. FGSFDSS, welcome. Thank you for the follow as well. I think what we're seeing here is duplicate address detection in action, and then when the link address goes to permanent, it means that the interface is fully up and the address is no longer tentative, I believe. I'm guessing that address flags 192 is probably some bit mask that contains the tentative value. So I guess I should dump those into hex, shouldn't I? That'd be easier. So first, tentative, colon equals, you all are gonna make fun of me. Every time I have to do bit ops, I always have to like think through them really hard. M flags and IFAF tentative not equals 0, right? So that means the bit flags contains the tentative bit set, right? Hey, what's going on? Tam7T, welcome. I would never make fun of you. You should. It's kind of funny. For somebody who does like network protocol stuff, I always have to think through these really hard until I get the mental model right. Yeah, see, so we're seeing the tentative flag being set here in some of these cases. So we are seeing that the address was never able to come up as permanent because the duplicate address detection had not succeeded. Yeah, I think it is right. So I guess what I still don't understand is why there's two flags fields here, but I suspect it looks like they're the same. So I'm guessing what this is that the existing flags field should be ignored. Wasn't there a man page it mentioned looking at? Like man7 net device? Let's take a look. Wouldn't it be nice if there was some language construct for bit sets? Why do they make you do obtuse bitwise ops? Yeah, I agree. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? So man7 net device gives me all the flags. So this tells me what these things actually mean. That's good. What's the lower up? Driver signals L1 up. Okay, so that means that the physical link is considered up as well. But then up is what we care about. We don't care about the physical link. Is there something in here about RT netlink? Oh, here we go. We got a bunch of flags in here. So IFA. So the messages we're looking at are address messages. Interface flags is an unsigned character. IFA flags is a flag word of IFA F secondary for secondary address, old alias interface, or permanent for a permanent address set by the user, and other undocumented flags. What do you mean undocumented flags? That's garbage. Come on. Yeah, we want RT. Let's see here. RT enter. Left is an exercise to the reader. Yeah, right? It seems like that's what this documentation is always like. RT adder struct. So there should be something in here about RT adders for the address messages, but I'm not seeing it. RT netlink 3. Okay. Man 3 RT netlink. Bugs. This man page is incomplete. Did it really say that? I wouldn't even be surprised. I like Brad's idea for interview questions. You may make up your own language. The catch, you also have to write a working compiler during the interview. Brutal. Okay, I get the feeling, I think what I'm going to assume here is that they ran out of bits in this uint8 because that's kind of a silly thing to do, and they probably started stuffing them in this uint32 instead. So I'm pretty sure we're going to totally ignore this original flags field and just go with the extended one, because as far as I can tell, they're identical. So, M attributes flags. So I guess let's dump the hex of this really quick too. I love a sassy man page. I think it's pretty funny, but it's just unfortunate when you're trying to actually do something with this stuff, you know? I mean, I guess I could cheat and go look at what RADVD is doing, but I kind of want to try and understand this by my own. 80, 80, 80. C0. Okay, that's different state. So C0 indicates, I mean, I guess we could have dumped the binary here, but let's see here. So the flags are 80, 0x80 in hex, which is the permanent, right? But then C would be, what is it, 8 plus 4? 12 in hex, right? So C0. So you have to mask that with, oh, let's see here. Deprecate? No. This is one of those things. I'm just gonna dump the binary. It's one of those things where I'm gonna have to like start drawing it on paper. Let's see here. So percent 02x. Here might be. Yeah, sometimes I'll get out like a pen and paper and start like writing down like bit flags and stuff just to understand. Shoot. Attributes, flags. There we go. I'll have to be able to trigger this again fairly easily, so... Okay, yeah, so it's just the bit right before that. Okay, so that's 4, so... Optimistic? No. Tentative. Wait, so it's declared tentative and permanent? How does that make sense? I guess permanent indicates it's user assigned, right? And then tentative indicates that it's still being duplicate address detection. So what we care about is we want to know when an interface becomes tentative because I think we can no longer bind to it. So when a link comes up, we want to make sure that the link is fully up, so operational state up, as well as the tentative flag is clear. I think those are the conditions that we actually care about in this case. So let's roll with that for now. Let's see what we can do. So I think what I want to do here is we filter based on the index of the interface. So you have to subscribe to an interface's state changes that's already up, but what does it mean to have a tentative link? So in this case, it's not the link, it's the address, and the address is tentative because the duplicate address detection algorithm is still running. So when your links come up, they get a v6 link local address, and in theory, it's possible for there to be a collision on the same layer too, even though it's dreadfully unlikely. So they do duplicate address detection and basically poke out to the network with ICMP v6 and say, hey, is anybody else using this address? And if they're not, they are able to mark it as no longer tentative. The duplicate address detection is considered succeeded, and the link can be used. So I think what happens right now is there are cases where a link will come up in CoreRAD and I try and bind to it immediately while the address is still tentative and while the duplicate address detection has not yet succeeded. And as a result, I have to try again. So we're trying to be smarter about that. So, I'm starting to wonder if this package is going to have to watch for interface creations as well, right? Because when you say you want to watch for messages about a certain interface, but that interface doesn't exist already, it would be nice to be able to wait for it to exist and then bind to it. So that's a feature I have with the current design that this one does not at the moment, which is unfortunate. So, I mean, I guess I could look at things from the... So what the old package design did is within the link attributes, there is a string field that indicates the name of the network interface. And I was using that before as the key, but that string does not exist for address messages. You have to actually look up the interface by its index in that case. So we need to know both the name and the index, but the index will not exist when the link does not exist. But we still want to be able to try and bind to an interface which may not be ready when CoreRAD comes up, because we want this to start on boot as soon as possible and have no dependencies on like systemd, unit ordering, and etc. So, So I guess perhaps for links, the answer is to build an internal index. So what I could do here is when I receive a link message, the callers can still subscribe by the interface name, but when I receive the link message, I will take that link message and update my internal index, and I can use that index to map between the interface name string and the interface index. Because a link would be created before it has any addresses assigned, I will know the link's name already. When I get one of these messages, I can look at the interface name and then map that to an index, and then I will have that index value for when future address messages come in. So we can actually keep the properties of the old design by doing the lookup on demand rather than doing it in the beginning. So I think we should actually do that. That seems like a smart idea. So we're going to have, let's see here, we're going to have an index of interface names to interface indexes, and I guess potentially the other way around as well. Do we care about both? Do we need both? And then when the client creates a channel, we need to be able to filter for them and only provide messages for their specified interface in that channel as well. So we're going to need a couple of different data structures here, I think. So let's see here. We need a IF index, literally the interface index from string to int. And then we need to know which channels are subscribed to which interface indices, right? So given an interface index, there are 0 or more channels of changes. So channels that you can only send on. I always get the syntax wrong. Is this right? Is this send on? You can only send on this channel. You can only receive on it. I always get the syntax wrong. I think this might be the opposite, actually, of what I want. Let's go without for now. So this means you can only receive on it, so I want to be able to only send on it. Yeah, right. It's going into the channel. Only receive. Yeah, so this is what I want. I want to be able to only send on this channel. We can't receive on it. So roughly... And actually, I'm not sure an RW mutex is what we want anymore because we're going to have to update the index in line as well. So goes out, goes in. Yeah, I guess it makes sense in relation to where the arrow operator is with the chan keyword. So we map interface strings to indexes, and then for an index, we can provide changes on this channel. All right, let's do it. It's going to be a day, my friends. Hopefully we get something usable out of this, you know? So subscribe by name. You can either subscribe by name or subscribe by index, I think, are probably the operations we want. We'll start by name. Allow unsubscription. I'll be back in a second. Need some water. All right, we're back. In what context do you start with an index instead of a name? So, what was it? I feel like I ran into an issue recently with like a VLAN tagged interface or something where it would not cooperate if I tried to look it up by name, but it worked fine with index. And I don't remember the circumstances. I feel like I was playing with my router and something strange happened. But ultimately, like, if the caller already has an interface name or an index, we should just be able to support both. That's kind of the goal, I guess. So, yeah, I don't remember the exact circumstances. Is it possible that you have an interface in like a certain state that, or can you have multiple interfaces with the same name? Because of like VLAN sub interfaces? Is that what the problem was? I don't remember, honestly. When you say index, do you mean like ordinal in a list? What if one goes away? Yeah, that's the problem with indexes. And also we need to be able to I guess we're gonna have to track when links are created and removed and such in order to keep our indexes up to date too. Yeah. Huh. So maybe name is the only sane way here. But yeah, in order to make this library more general, it's going to have to be smarter. It's going to have to be smarter about being able to keep track of the same interface going away and being recreated. Because, for example, like when my NixOS router upgrades sometimes, it will bring an interface down and then reconfigure things and bring it back up. And I'm pretty sure it comes up with a different index. So I think that we're going to have to possibly only do by name. How did you learn networking so deep? Trial and error. Ultimately, I found networking to be kind of interesting, and I found networking to be like a pretty interesting concept. Like for me, when I first made my programs in school that, you know, were on my computer, like print this to the screen, do this algorithm, whatever, that was okay. But when I realized I could do like sockets and make multiple machines communicate, I kind of got hooked and started playing with things like network protocols. Now I've just been doing this for a number of years. Yeah, I've got a lot of knowledge, like as far as like how these things kind of fit together. But as far as like the Linux kernel internal depths and stuff, like well, this is kind of new territory for me. So we're learning together. I guess you could assign an internal ID as well. An internal ID for the index. Stockholm syndrome, basically. It's true. Yeah. I mean, I think this API in particular is very powerful, but it's as far as using this like for normal people, like this is a lot, you know. You have a lot of intelligence. You can do a lot to help this world. Yeah, I sure hope so. You know, I enjoy programming. I enjoy solving problems. So that's the goal. For the interface, I guess, like you start with the name, give back an internal ID, then people can look up by internal ID that's stable as opposed to the ordinal. I don't know if there's any advantage. Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Maybe I'm not sure netlink will solve world hunger though. Maybe you're right. Maybe we just want to stick to the names. It might be since it's the more stable identifier. So our government's become corrupt. We must start the fight against this world system. Join the cyber revolution army. Nice. Yeah, here's hoping that here's hoping that there are still good people in this world, you know, who care about stuff, you know. So when this first comes up, we don't actually know. This interface is created. We want to know about it, but we don't know about it. So -1 maybe? This means that like we don't know the index yet or something. So we'll add this to our map and we'll create a channel, and then the channel is added to the list, but we don't know the index yet. Maybe the answer is to do an inline lookup here, and if it succeeds, we get it immediately, and if we don't, then we assign -1. Right? Interface by name. So we'll do the lookup, and if error is not equal to nil, let's see here. So if IFI index. So we know the interface is index already. We must determine the index later. So we're going to need some concept of how do we keep track? -1. But we're going to create this change channel, and we need a way to associate the change channel with this -1. Maybe we need another data structure. So we've got the map of the strings to the interface indexes. Okay. And then for this change map, we're going to need lookups either by the interface index, or if one doesn't exist, maybe we have like a tentative list. So maybe something like tentative is a map of string. So we don't know the index yet, but it's a string and it's a channel of changes. And what we're going to do is once we figure this out, we will drain the tentative map for that key and move them all into this map, the changes map. Right? I think that makes sense. Channel of changes. So changes index equals append. So in this case, we already know where this needs to go. This will be fed events from here. So we create the channel and we add it to that map. Otherwise, we don't know where it goes. So it becomes tentative in our sense of tentative. So tentative for this interface. This means that there are 0 or more callers who care about messages for this interface. So, but we don't know where to route the messages yet because we don't have the interface that exists. Okay. I think this makes sense. It's going to be complicated, but the reason I'm building this library is because you shouldn't have to do this in your own code. You know. So we need to rework this again. Let's start with links. So we receive a link message. We need to, I think this is now just all locks because we're going to potentially manipulate things as well. So whenever we receive a link message, we lock the mutex. So W, we need to find out if we already have identified the mapping for this. So interface index. I'm not sure if this can actually be nil or not, but if it can, we need to check. So M attributes name. So if we didn't already know this value, we have to populate it immediately. M attributes name. Ah, not quite. Equals W, no. M index. Found a new link that we hadn't previously indexed. Add it to the map. Okay. I think this makes sense. 157. I'm wondering if I need more coffee. The problem is what'll happen is I'll be like right now where I'm a little spacey, and then I'll have coffee and I'll be like jittery and unable to focus. So now that we've got some more people here, so I wanted to share something I shared at the beginning of the stream. I now have this MD layer stream repo on GitHub. So if you go here, you can actually file issues for things you would like to see on stream. So if you are interested, if there's something you'd really like to see me cover, please, come here and make your case. I'm more tempted to do things that will benefit like my home lab or kind of my personal curiosity. So, for example, if you say, oh, implement TCP on stream, like it's probably not going to happen. but if there's some cool protocol that could potentially be of use, let me know. It could be fun. So today we are working on number 4, actually. So rework the route netlink watching code. So I guess I'll assign this to myself right now. Use the issue tracker a little bit. So working on this today on stream. Hello, Twitch chat. So if there's something you'd like to see, feel free to file an issue. So we found a new link, and this means that we need to drain any of the tentative entries into the change map as well, right? So we need to move everything. So we also need to move any watcher channels in the tentative map for this interface into the changes map, so they'll receive the data. Actually, I guess they would receive it anyway, which just because the channel is going to be point to the same thing whether or not it's in tentative or changes, but we want to simplify our other code. So they'll receive messages for this change and future ones, because they have to be part of that map in order to that's to be part of that map in order to get the interface address changes. Because only links contain the name. Changes for this index, we want to drain the other map. So for So if we iterate a map and then we delete the entries every time, that will, when the iteration is over with, the map will be empty, right? Because you're allowed to manipulate a map while you're ranging over it. So we need to take all of the channels from the tentative map in this index. So w tentative at attribute's name. Why is it doing that? And we need to add them to the changes map. So index. Just gonna tidy this up a bit. So we'll add them to that map, and then we will delete them from the tentative map. So w tentative c. Cool. So now I think we've preserved the old behavior where if an interface is not present, we still know that we're waiting for it to appear, and when it does appear, we can add it to our map, which is good. So I think that works, actually. We could test this really quick. Does this compile now? Does not yet. Right. Hmm. 84. Too few arguments. Tio Manga, welcome. Thank you for the follow. 87, too many arguments to return. Really? Am I looking at the wrong file? I definitely am, aren't I? Yeah, I totally am. Oh, no, we've been changing the wrong file the whole time? No, we haven't. No? Yes? No? I think I was looking at the wrong file. I don't think we were changing the wrong file, though, hopefully. Yeah, okay, this is right. 87, right. 84, cannot use iFace. What do you mean? Can I use iFace type string as type int in map index? Ah, right. This is a string. What am I getting wrong here? Can I use type string as type int in map? This is a map of string to int. This is a string. This is an int. What are you talking about? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong line, aren't I? Sheesh. Tentative. These aren't ints. Am I missing something really silly? It's got to be. I mean, I'm just not reading this message right, am I? Type string as type int in map index. There are no ints in the map index here. So did I get the types wrong on this? String, int. These types are all right. The tentative map, the iFace is a string. Am I shadowing it? No, I'm not. We're appending a change channel. It's fine. Can I use type string as type int in map index? Let's look at these other ones, I guess. 142. Can I use iFace 163? Oh, this is the keys here. So after we move all the tentative, oh, we need to delete not the individual entries, we need to delete the whole key. Okay, that's right. Not all three of those maps are string keyed, right? I thought I saw 2 string ones and 1 int one. Yeah, you're right. Am I doing them all as strings? 84. So changes is integer. I'm passing the index though, see? Because we need to, the library internally needs to track by the index. Yes, you have W changes I face down below. Do I? Oh, you're right. You are right. This needs to be tentative. That's why. Thanks. That makes more sense. I just realized we have another problem now. If the interface is deleted and comes back while our program is running, our index is now out of date. All right. Okay, or the new index is not equal to the previous. So if the interface never existed or it comes back and it has a different index, we need to update the index. Which also means we need to look at the previous index and move the entries into the new map. What a pain. I'm really wondering if I'm going down the right path here. Like, the code I had before was kind of dumb, but it was really simple. You know? Valley99M, thank you for the follow. Like, I guess you kind of have to... The code I have right now works okay. It is not smart when it comes to like IP addresses or multiple changes at once, but it works fine and it's simple. So I guess you get to the point where you wonder if the changes you're making are worth the mental overhead, the maintenance overhead, you know? So we'll clear the tentative map, and then if there's anything at the previous index, the indexes will never be reused by Linux, thankfully. So if there's anything still at the previous index, we need to move it to the new index. So let's see here. So for channel range W changes at the old index, we need to move them to the new index. So we're making copies of different places in the map, and then we will delete the old entries. I think that makes sense. Hey, Jason90, welcome. Watching with interest on mobile. Nice. Yeah, we're using your package here. trying to figure out how route netlink, I don't know. Trying to figure out how to do smarter netlink state change watching, but it's difficult because we're having to account for scenarios like an interface not being present when the program is created. So the interface comes up later, and it could possibly delete it again when the program is running. It could come up with a different index. So we're trying to key everything on index internally, which means we need to keep track of the state at various changes. So, yeah, pain in the ass is right. I think this is roughly right, but we'll test it and find out. Okay, so let's see here. So these are all going to be keyed on the interface index. You never wrote Go before, so you have no idea what's going on. Looks cool, though. Yeah, the problem is that we have to manipulate like 3 different maps to keep track of state, so this is not your usual Go code. So we're going to dump everything out to the screen here, and we're going to see if this works. We're going to start the program. We're going to delete the interfaces. We're going to bring them back, and it will be fun. So index, interface flags over. Attributes name. Is this even going to work? Let's see here. Main.go. Tentative declared but not used. Right. It's going to be one of those days for sure. Okay. Oh, right. It's a Veth pair. So we only want to send changes for interfaces that we care about as well. So unless they have an active map, we don't actually send the change. So W changes for this interface index, for M index, and we send on that map. So now we should filter out the messages we don't care about anymore, which is good. This is one of those like complicated delete thing or complicated things that I feel like it's going to be totally wrong for a while, but we'll see. iFace delete should also result in a link message, by the way. Yes. Yeah, right. So the goal here is just to keep track of like which interfaces live on which index, and that way if they are deleted and come back and such, they will be, we'll still be able to keep track of it. We can keep it associated with the same state change channel in theory. Layman, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow on the hub as well. I think my GitHub is a lot more interesting than my Twitter, but I'm always tweeting about my random experiments with stuff. All right, sweet. So we are ignoring changes successfully for Veth 1, which is good. Let's go ahead and let's recreate these and see what happens. So scripts develop. Did that work? I think this is totally working. Yeah, it's working beautifully. The interface has come up and down. It's been deleted like 3 times, and it's keeping track of the index and sending on that channel. That's so sick. So I think this works. Wow. I'll take it. Dude. Love that emote. Yeah, all right. Well, I guess that proves this approach is reasonable. Cool. So I think we're at the point now where I kind of want to get some test coverage on this because this is definitely tricky, you know. Let's see here. So let's send something on the channel so the caller can react to it. I'm going to take a quick, does up down change index? It does not. No. So see, so what I'm doing right now is I'm setting it up and down. The index is the first line here. So you'll see 18, 18, 18. But if I run my develop script, which actually deletes the interface and recreates it, now it's 20. So now CoreRAD Veth0 lives at index 20. Oh, I saw a 19 in there too. Interesting. Oh, it's because we're not filtering on the, we're not filtering appropriately for the address messages. But this would be the same idea. So one sec. So for the index here, we print the change. So we only keep track of changes that somebody is listening for. Otherwise, we don't send them at all. And they are dropped. I feel like you got to get like a stress test in here with a random mix of up, down, delete, recreate with many interface. Yeah, totally. We will. I think that's going to be... I think it might be kind of tricky to get that in a deterministic way, unfortunately. But yes, I'll definitely do some kind of integration test that does a lot of hammering on this. And actually, I should probably be building this with a race detector, to be honest, because it's possible I've got something wrong here. Although the mutex locking is pretty simple. It's just you get a batch of netlink messages and process them. So... my machine's kernel is probably like, what the heck are you doing? Although I guess it's no worse than like what Kubernetes does, right? Yeah, this seems to be working beautifully, actually. Why is it coming up with a different Oh, I was really worried for a sec. It's coming up with a different IPv6 link local address because whenever I recreate the interface, it gets a new MAC address. So this is being derived from the MAC address. So, okay. Yeah, so let's see here. Are we at the point where we can start notifying the caller? I think so. So I think what we're going to have to do probably is pass back roughly these raw messages to the caller, maybe with a little bit of information derived from them, but ultimately we need to provide as much information as possible so the caller can do things like debounce the messages and such. Wow. What fun, huh? All right, Twitter, what's going on? Nothing. Oh yeah, the GopherCon Europe videos are up. So if anybody wants to check out my Sked group video, you can do that now. I should actually link that on my website, shouldn't I? It wouldn't take very long. I guess I could do that really quick. I'll show you all my little generator thing I have. So talks. Okay. So I have kind of this thing set up basically. So GopherCon EU. Don't I have a metadata file in here? Yes, I do. So I have this JSON metadata as well as like my slides and stuff. And basically I wrote a Go program that can like take all this metadata and kind of smash it together and put it in a form that's suitable for my website. So now I need to take the video link. Right now what you'll see is mdlayer.com. If you go to the talks page, we have this information. We've got slides, but there is no video link yet. We can actually add one quite easily. So where did I share this? GopherCon EU 2020 videos. Cool. I'll just click on one of these, I suppose. Just want to grab mine really quick. So where's the playlist? Matt Layer. There we go. Yeah, I think this talk was fairly well received. There's a lot of I go through a lot of stuff in like 20 minutes for sure, but feel free to check it out. What's cool about videos is you can go ahead and like pause it and such. So we have the video link now. We will add this, and then I run go generate in that repo. Go generate, and this will run some commands to basically update various metadata things. So now the Sked group talk is linked in the README. It has a link in the README for that folder as well. And we update this big JSON blob. So let's see here. Conferences, add Sked group video link. And what used to happen is my website would take this content like once a day and push it as well. But I have that broken at the moment. So now this is pushed to GitHub. I go to mdlayer.com. I run go generate. And I diff it. And this also keeps track of the repos I've modified most recently. Yeah, but now you'll see we have the video link here. So if I push this, data add, Sked group, video, update, GitHub repos. I push that. And then coming up pretty soon on Netlify and such, you will have that available on my website, which is pretty cool. So shouldn't take too long. Let's see here. Is there anything else I wanted to look at while we're at it? Are there any issues in this repo yet? No, nothing. We don't need stringer anymore. We do want the route netlink docs. Is it up? Not quite yet. Netlify is usually pretty quick. It's nice. It's I really like the git push to deploy philosophy, and I love not running my own web server. You know, I used to run a DigitalOcean droplet with like my website on it, and it wasn't worth it for a while. Is this caching maybe? Nope. Anyway, it should come up pretty much any time, and then it will be linked to my website. So cool. Home Lab, MISC. And this page will also update with my latest projects, including like Conserve, which is pretty cool. There we go. It's up to date, actually. So talks. Hey, now we got the link. So if you were interested, there's a lot of content on my website. I've done various talks, presentations, blogs, etc. Yeah, check it out. Cool. Easy enough. Right. So we're at the point now where I want to get some test coverage on this. So I think we need to kind of finish it up, or at least make the initial API. I don't want to expose these. It's a shame, but so when you receive this, you'll process the messages, and when you process the messages, that involves sending them on a channel along with any metadata. So things like, oh, let's see here. In the case of CoreRAD, all I care about is link changes and IPv6 address changes, but there's lots of other data as well. So I want to look at this one more time. So if it was not in the map, if it wasn't previously indexed, or the link has come up again with a new index due to deletion and recreation, add to the map. Move any watcher channels in the tentative map for this interface into the changes map. So they'll receive messages for this change and future ones. Yes, also true. Finally, move any previous chains associations into the new and correct index in the map. Hang on, can you, is there a... Okay, so there is no link 0. So what I was concerned about is if this was the 0 value... Okay, so if, okay. So now we'll verify if there was an entry found in the map, we want to move its previous associations into the new location. Yeah. So I guess now we're back at the point where I am debating how much I want to pull apart this message. So we have functionality now that will watch for a certain interface and only give you changes on that interface, which is good. But how much detail do we give the caller? Like, how much do we rely on doing ourselves versus they do, versus what they want to do? I'm going to use the bathroom. I'll be back in just a sec. All right, we're back. I just thought of one more thing as well. So depending on how much information I want to provide the caller, it might be worth making this change thing into an interface. So you could have a link change, you could have an address change, you could have a route change. Like, those are all kind of different categories of things. And I'm just wondering if... I mean, the problem is I kind of wanted this library to be cross-platform, but I'm actually not sure if that's realistic, because I have no idea how other operating systems like keep track of this information. Like, do they lump these concepts in different ways or what? I don't know. So at the moment, this is within CoreRAD. It's an internal repo. I would like to bring it back out into the public again. I have my netstate repo on GitHub, which is the old version of this, but we're kind of reworking it right now because I realized it had some deficiencies. So I'm wondering if maybe it makes sense to, instead of having this change structure, where is it? So maybe if instead of change, we have link change, struct, and then this would have the operational state. And then an address change, struct, would have the IP address that changed, as well as the route netlink message, like something like that. Like, I'm debating if this makes sense, you know? Haven't decided yet. Huh. And should a change mention which interface it's for? I mean, I guess that's probably kind of a nice thing to do, right? Maybe we'll go with this, yeah. I mean, this way the caller can do more type assertions to get more information. Like they want to know specifically which link changed or which address changed. Interface string. Interface string. And changes will have a... what method? Is this how I want to do this? Is this the right idea? We can also have things like the flags abstracted, but actually those are probably OS specific as well. I guess the question is, like, all we'd be really doing here is pulling the information out of the sys, right? Because the sys would be like the route netlink message or equivalent for other platform. So the sys interface, empty interface, would contain that data. So all we'd be doing is duplicating it in this top level struct, which is kind of convenient for the caller, or kind of convenient for like debugging, but I don't know. I guess we can go with it for now. I'm not sure if we're gonna end up keeping this design, but this is why we're prototyping, right? So sys interface. Sys returns the operating system specific representation of a changes data, such as a raw route netlink message on Linux. Use of sys must be guarded by build tags in cross-platform code. And then we could have like an unexported method in here as well, so that way people can't implement this themselves. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm not that worried about it. So maybe we'll just do this. Link change sys interface turn csys. And this way the sys type is read only as well. So something like that maybe. I don't love this API, but I think this might be the only reasonable thing when you want to give the caller ultimately the control over how these things kind of fit together. Okay, let's see here. So, does this build? Probably not even close. It does. Interesting. Okay. Oh, it's because we're not actually putting anything in the channels yet, are we? So, okay. Yeah, we have changes. Now we want to unpack these structs, or I rather pack these structs to provide more information. So, for every person who's listening for changes for addresses on this interface, we create a struct for them. So we send on, let's see here, send on the channel with a link and address change. And the sys field is going to be the raw route netlink message itself. Do I have to worry about copies? No. No, I don't. I got to make a copy of the data? No, because the route netlink package would do it for me. Interface. We want to give them it by the... It's more convenient if we give it to them by the string. Maybe we give it to them with both, the interface index and the name. So now I think we need a reverse index as well. So now we have 4 maps. Index, and then index name. W name index, so W index name. Index name. Let's turn the index later. I guess we don't really need this -1. We don't actually look at it anymore. So now we have the information or we don't, right? So we go back and look at this. Index name equals I equals M attributes name. Again, relying on the logic that you would have to have that information first. But now we need to delete it from the old index as well. So if it changed, we need to remove it from the old data. So delete W index name I. I think this is right. I think this is roughly correct. Unknown field index name instruct literal type watcher. I thought I saved it, didn't I? Ah, that's why the completion wasn't working. Index name. So map of int to string. So many mappings. Type string is not an expression. Okay. 147. Ah, yes. That would be correct. We'll never get an interface. We'll always have a link message first, so this should always be present. So we just look it up this way. M index. And actually, maybe we provide the interface index as well in these messages. But I don't know. It's probably okay for now. IP is M attributes address. Let's just make a copy of that. Do I? Maybe. I think our concurrency tests are going to reveal a lot of problems with this, you know? It's going to give us more information than we have now. So let's get rid of these for the time being. Link. This is a link change. Interface. M attributes name. We already don't need the index because we can just look it up manually. We already have it in the message. State is the op. And sys is the message itself. Yep. Okay. This is roughly unknown field sys. Lowercase. Okay. Doesn't. Oh. Yeah, it does work. It's just that I need to fix this. Spew dump C. Cool. Seems to be working. So I guess let's dump this with a little less detail for the time being. Yep. Oh, looks like we messed up the index somewhere. So we need to update the, let's see here. I thought we just did that. This isn't quite right yet. So we get a link message, we add the index name, and then we delete it if okay. Do we not want to delete the previous association? Is that because, is there still some state here from the old link? Maybe in the same batch of messages, since the link has been deleted, the addresses are being removed as well. Let's see. Hey, how are you all doing? I'm doing really well. How about you? Having a good time here for sure. We're working through it. That seems to be right. So setting it up and down, we're getting all the messages, we're still getting the same interface association. Yeah, that seems right. Okay. It's good. Let's tidy this up a bit more. Is there a way you can send test messages without having to actually edit the machine's links? I mean, we'll probably what we'll do in the tests is we'll just like either derive the route netlink messages ourselves or something. But just for testing on my machine, it's easiest just to manipulate the link. But for the unit tests, we can do an integration thing where we actually create and delete links, but that can be hairy. So we'll probably end up just like manually creating route netlink messages or similar. Do we need to move the... Good. Got way too little sleep last night since the first time I met up with some peeps last night. Nice. And some good old-fashioned habits. Stayed up way too late or is it early? Yeah, I've been there. What are you working on? We are reworking the state change watching code for my CoreRAD project in the netstate package. So we want to expose interface state changes like interface going up and down and addresses being added or removed in a safe way. So that's what we're doing at the moment. And it seems like we're making pretty good progress on that, but the new code's certainly more complicated. It's going to need good tests, but we'll see how far we get. I don't think today's going to be like a crazy long stream. I've got plans this afternoon at like a little after like 3 o'clock, I think. So we'll see. Still kind of want some caffeine, but I don't know. It is the weekend. I guess I could say, hashtag treat yourself. But I wonder if deferring the removal here, let's just try something. So defer, delete W. This would be run before the mutex unlocks, right? I think so. Delete the old index name. Index name. Delete the old index name entry for previous on defer. Does that work? It does work. Excellent. Okay, so the problem is here, what I was running into, without this defer, what I assume is happening here, without this defer, we were deleting the old association, so we get the messages are piling up. We have a link message that says this now exists on a new link, but then we get an address message that says the address for this interface with the previous index was deleted. So what we want to do is we want to defer deleting this, so we want to clean up the index, but only do so after all the messages in a batch have been processed, because that's when RTNetlink will tell us that, hey, things are consistent again. So I think that's the problem here. Caffeine doesn't treat yourself, that's necessity. Audio lag or just me? No lag for me. Need coffee? Yeah, I need coffee. I might do it. We'll see. Sometimes on Twitch, if you get audio lag, I would try just refreshing the stream. Honestly, I'm not dropping any frames or anything today, so Twitch sometimes it's just weird. I would try just refreshing the stream and see what happens. Sometimes that'll bring you back up to speed. Remove the old index to name association. After processing the remaining messages as they may refer to the old index for address changes and the like. Okay. don't care. I was just going to suggest factoring this out into a function, but the problem is if I factor this out, is this defer will no longer work either. So, if I do factor it out, I guess it's okay for now. Guard against nil attributes. Let's see here. All these constants are going to go away. I think it's probably about time. So right now we're only listening for link changes and v6 address changes. Maybe we want to expose this to the caller. Probably. I mean, if we want to make this a more general library, I guess. Gotta run. Have a good rest of your stream. Well, hey, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Have a nice weekend. I think you're gonna be streaming tomorrow, right? So I hope to make it. We've got plans tomorrow, but I'll see what I can do. So I'll catch you later. Oh man. So our message types for routes, etc. Yes. Neighbors. Okay, so now we have address changes and link changes, and it seems to be working. So I think there's one case we haven't tested yet, which is where the interface does not exist when we start up. So type assertion won't panic. I thought they did. Which one? So this is a type switch. So type switches are a little bit different. So in this particular case, we're not doing like a standard type assertion. The link del dev CoreRAD bitho. So now the interface does not exist at all. Oh shoot. Oh, the strings file. Yeah. Delete. So now the interface does not exist at all. We're going to create it as the program runs. So scripts. That works perfectly, actually. Wow. I'm legitimately surprised this works as well as it seems to. I feel like there's some subtle bug here still, like especially with all the maps in play, but It's cool. Didn't know you could do that. So technically, you could pass an interface in and switch untype and have to go to generic. Yes, you can if you really want to. It's horrible, but you can do it. Some people will do JSON decoding this way. I don't recommend it for sure. But in this particular case, the messages, the route netlink messages are all interfaces. So we want to look for address messages and handle them here, link messages and handle them here. And also, there's a trick here. So we're shadowing the outer M with this inner M within the type switch, and this is making it so this M is now of type address message in this block or link message in this block. Oh, you meant like interface the OG generic. We are using empty interface for the sys thing because this is an OS specific call, so you're going to have to type assert this, yes, but there's no other type assertions I can see other than just this type switch. Assuming that's what you're referring to. To do parameterize for sure. So I think we need to write some tests for this for sure. So you subscribe and then get messages for things. What is that OS? I am running Ubuntu 20.04. Yep, so just Linux. How the heck do I want to test this? Like, I feel like... Is it good? Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with it, you know? So for me, I've been running Linux full-time for about 7 years now. I am at the point where so much, you know, everything I develop is always for Linux anyway. It's going to be deployed to production on Linux. Lots of people in this field like MacBooks. That's okay. I'm not personally a fan of Apple and Apple products. I just like Linux. So for me, it works well for what I need it to do. I do development. I don't do as many games and stuff. But even now, like, gaming is better on Linux as well. So yeah, I love it. All of my machines in my house are Linux except for one, which is the home theater PC. Thank you, dude. Can't choose Linux distro. Oh yes. So you're familiar with Linux? You just can't choose one. Yeah, I use Ubuntu. I use NixOS on my servers, but that's because it's very configurable, and I like that more. Big fan of Pop! OS. Yeah, Pop! OS seems cool too. Only distro I've encountered that literally just works with laptops and quite well. Yeah, Pop! OS does seem pretty cool. System 76 has put a lot of work into making that really, really friendly for people. I also like Linux Mint. I ran that for a while. I just run upstream Ubuntu now. So we need to test this probably. Like, it seems to work, but we need to write like actual tests for this. How do I want to do that? So given a watching function, we need to create messages and process them. If you're not using Gen 2, I'm disappointed. You madman. You want to try Elementary? Yeah, Elementary seems cool too. I've never given it a try, but it does seem nice. Oh, here we go. We got the Gen 2 and Arch debate going on. About Linux, don't lose yourself on choosing which distro to use. Yes, you can always change, for sure. I used to run Ubuntu on all of my machines, and now I run NixOS on headless ones and Ubuntu just in this desktop on my laptop. I would consider switching to NixOS here as well, but I'm not quite brave enough yet. Yeah, I would agree. It's best just to pick one and get started and just see what you like. Ubuntu is a great beginner's choice. Pop! OS also would be excellent. Linux Mint is also great. I would not do Gen 2 or Arch for your first Linux, personally. Here comes the haters, right? So I think probably what I want to do now is expose this for tests. Watcher Linux test.go. Package watcher package netstate 2, right. Let's see, how are we going to do this? I think it's going to be a little bit. We can probably go full screen for a while. The Arch debate. I liken Arch users to Rust users. Pick one and get started. Pop, Ubuntu, and Mint are all great choices. Yep, agreed. In the end, you'll learn to work with it and then learn the advantages and disadvantages of certain approaches. Yeah, certainly. I wholeheartedly agree. By the way, thank you all, chat, for being very pleasant, and you know, it's been nice. I haven't had to do too much moderation in here. People are generally quite nice and reasonable, which is good. So makes my and Terran's job easy. Test Linux Watcher. So new watcher. No. W subscribe. Test 0. This is going to look up the interface, but doesn't matter because it's not going to exist anyway. Go fuck. Oh, let's see here. So Linux hard choice for me every time I choose between GNOME, KDE, or Ubuntu, Manjaro, Fedora. Yeah, ultimately you'll find what works for you. VS Code has macros to scaffold tests like that. Yes, it does. I also created some of my own. So there's a TDT thing. So I have my own. This is the VS Code TDT. I don't like this very much. I feel like this test cases thing and stuff is awkward. And it makes like this arg struct I don't like. So I just have my own version of it. But yes, it does have snippets. You should check those off. Check those out. W process, I think, is what we're going to want to do. So given a set of inputs, we want to produce some output set of changes, I think. Let's see here. In general, beginners should indeed stick with the more mainstream flavors and not dive into the deep end, unless you're that kind of person, of course. Yeah, I would agree with that statement. My first Linux was Gen 2 on an iBook G4 PowerPC. I agree, I'm probably off. My first was Ubuntu. No surprise there. How do I want to do this? Ugh. I got rid of all the channel closing logic, didn't I? It's unfortunate. I have to copy and paste that back, I think. Context? No. I guess we don't really need to close the channel. We can leave it open. We'll do a more full test as well, but you worked on a lot of Debian CentOS servers through CLI before switching any of my systems to Linux. Looking back, that probably shaped a lot of my habits of working in CLI instead of interfaces. The only thing I truly miss on Linux is a proper schematics CAD piece of software. Yeah, totally. So we're going to go process, and then we're going to consume on the main go routine, I think. Something like this. So, I'm already losing steam. What's going on today? I guess some days you're just not feeling it as much. Like, I feel like we've made good progress, but I think trying to keep all these maps straight has kind of got me a little frazzled. I'm not thrilled with the complexity of this, but I think ultimately it's probably necessary in order to make something that survives interface creation, deletion, moving, etc. KiCad does seem pretty good, actually. So I saw Stoffelberg is using KiCad to create his, what do you call it? His Kinesis keyboard controller. He actually did a stream on that was super cool the other day. Go check that out. Kim T is what it's called. Used to run Eagle and Wine. Yikes. Maya. I'm not Maya A-E-I-O-U-Y. Thank you for the follow. Kurt or Kiert, thank you for the follow as well. I appreciate that. Trying to read Twitch viewer names has been a lot more difficult than I anticipated it would be. It's pretty funny, actually. Verbose, give me data. So we need to pass in some messages that'll be processed by the function and give us the information. So we subscribe. We'll pass in, let's see here, route netlink message. Let's do a link message. You like everything more straight out of the box without much setup. You need to get my work done first of all. Yeah, totally. Run like Ubuntu or Pop! OS or something. It'll be way easier that way. Electronics is fine. KiCad is amazing, but I worked with a lot of drawings at some point, which basically forced me to have a Windows VM with AutoCAD. There's nothing on Linux that really competes with Inventor or SketchUp or any of that, really. You also miss a proper open source VHDL implementation and, more importantly, compiler. Oh, interesting. So you do like electronics and stuff? That's something I'd love to get into, is like messing with hardware more. After watching Stoffelberg's Kinesis keyboard controller replacement stream, I was pretty intrigued for sure. So I would love to get into like hacking on stuff like that as well. I have no experience. I've never done any soldering, anything like that. But it's something I'd love to learn. So I'm sure I will at some point. I'm going to want to play with like sensors and stuff with my Raspberry Pis, you know. So type index. So index is going to be 1. So we're going to give this interface an index, which is now going to appear in our messages. And then what else? Attributes. Like the operational state, which is the route netlink, operational state down for the time being. So I think just with that, we'll get a change, right? Yeah? No. Thought we would. We're processing that message. I need to move my Pius hat from Eagle to KiCad so I can open source it. Yeah, do it. I'd be super curious to see that, actually. My degree works mainly on the field between electronics and ICT, integrated circuits, maybe? So we cover a broad amount of topics, but the majors I did focused on digital and embedded systems design. Nice. Likes a lot of C coding, IMHO. I'm rusty on it and brushing up on it. Nice. That's super cool. I would love to pick your brain at some point about that. Excuse me. Diving deeper into Rust makes me really miss the green threads Go routine approach to things. Yeah, there's advantages to both ways for sure. Go routines are amazing 99% of the time, but when you get into the territory of doing things like you want to, you know, do the old school demonization, which I wouldn't recommend in Go, or you want to manipulate the network namespace of a thread, or things like that, you will quickly find yourself in a tricky situation. So. Oh, really? Static check. Should replace with loop. Attributes name. Oh. I guess that makes sense. You think you can tell me what to do, Dominic, with your tools? I suppose that makes sense, though. You're not my boss. Pretty funny. I don't know what the equivalent would be. Like, I want to do a key lookup on a map. If it doesn't exist, fire off something to update that map behind the scenes, but then I have to battle the borrow checker. Yeah. With Rust, you have to think in a very different way. My tools are all knowing. You will obey them. I mean, I do obey them, but I mean, I appreciate that they catch my silly mistakes from time to time, you know? So if I subscribed on test 0, oh, I'm dumb. I see. Name, test 0. That's why we weren't catching it. That works. There we go. Okay. Ship it. Done. No more stuff. I think we might get like a bare minimum test case done for this and like wrap the stream, actually. I'm kind of fried already. Kind of a bummer. I was hoping to do more, but I'll probably do a stream tomorrow as well. I think that I'm not busy tomorrow until like 3 o'clock again, so I'll probably do another stream around the same time. We'll see. Did both the bachelor and master paper on interconnection through IoT networking and data collection. fun. So planning on buying some hardware now that I graduated and starting back up with building some sensors and data collection frameworks if I find time aside from the gazillion other things I want to do. Yeah, I can relate to that. We've been talking about this in the Gophers Slack, but there's this little device called the Cobol. This is the Helios 64. This is a cool little open source NAS, like ARM64 platform. Like I kind of really want one of these because I want a small remote backup NAS, and this runs some kind of Linux, and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could run Go Crazy on this? So now I kind of want to buy one of these and figure out how to port Go Crazy and the kernel and all that crap over to it, just so I can use it to like store files and run Go programs. Like, it's like, do I really have time for that? Like, I don't know. I guess probably what I would do instead is probably run NixOS, because NixOS is amazing, but we'll see. Anyway, this is a cool little thing. I haven't bought one yet, but I really, really want to, and it's like $300. I want to. Oh, you're oh yeah. I thought you were Francis. I couldn't remember if you were for sure or not, but I thought it was. But yeah, I really want one of those. Super bad. It does look badass. I agree. I really think it's gonna be awesome. Other. So we're gonna ignore state changes for other, because actually, I guess it'd probably be a good test here to have multiple maps going, or multiple subscriptions going. Its price point and geeky level are just right to convince me. Yeah, I think I agree with that statement. I kind of want to buy one. The problem is I just spent $1,500 on a damn chair, like the stupid Aeron, you know? Like, I mean, I guess I'm thankful my company pitched in. They wanted everybody to get some money or have some money to do home office improvements during COVID, which is nice. But still, I had to spend like a fair amount of money out of pocket for a chair, and it's like, ah. So my fun money kind of budget is kind of blown for the month already, and it's July 11th. So I don't know. Maybe I'll wait until they're shipping already. You weren't calling it stupid yesterday. Well, it's not stupid. It's gonna be great, but it's just expensive, you know. I wonder when this is gonna ship. US available on back order, but I want it. See, the problem is, though, is that you're going to spend $300 in this box, and that's great, but then suddenly you got to spend $200 on a hard drive because I need minimum 8 terabyte drives, and if I get this, like, I could start with one drive, but then there's no redundancy, but it's also a remote backup machine, so I guess who cares? I mean, maybe I would just start with one drive and just do a Z-pool with one. I know it's kind of silly, but I don't know. I just don't want to spend another $1,000 if I can avoid it. The Twitters. Yeah, Dominic, you can relate. You just spent like however much money on your 16 terabyte Exos drives, right? You built your own, but that looks like a purchase anyway, right? So I have my own home built NAS as well. Actually, it's just like it's just desktop hardware. Ooh, that was weird. I have my own home built NAS anyway. It's just desktop hardware, but I want a remote backup box at my parents' house for offsite backup. You should be able to move an MD-ADM array over to that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure MD-ADM is the expected way of configuring it. Like, I'm guessing whatever kernel they're using probably doesn't have ZFS baked in. In my case, I would just do NixOS, which has ZFS, but I'm sure MD-ADM would be fine as well. You may have spent a bit of money, yeah. Should check if it's powerful enough to do transcoding for Plex. Yeah, that's a good question. I frankly don't know. In my case, like my NAS has a Ryzen 7 2700 because I wanted Plex transcoding and such, so I'm not too worried. The fun budget part of this year is to spend on the order of a Remarkable 2. Yeah, those do seem really nice, actually. Finally convinced myself not to buy one, and then they released a 2 and my buddy let me play with his one. Yeah, those do seem really cool. Actually, Remarkable would be a nice little device to have as well. Nice distribution you got there. It'd be a shame if someone replaced it with NixOS. I mean, it's true, though. The thing is for headless machines, like, I don't ever want to, like, manage a kernel again, you know? Like, NixOS takes care of all that stuff for me. I've got Go Crazy for my Raspberry Pis, which is also amazing. Your home server has a Pentium 4. No, it does not. Nobody in their right mind would run a Pentium 4 for a home server. Taryn, what is wrong with you? Oh, but I did for some time. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I get that, but it's 2020. Like, Pentium 4s were, you know, Pentium 4s have been gone for quite a while, right? I guess I should probably make like a fan end thing. I don't know. Am I gonna finish this today? I don't know. I don't know, man. Change C. We need some way to cancel this as well because we're not using the watch method. Huh. Get in your DeLorean and gun it to 88. The only other time you'll see a Pentium 4. Old hardware has got me started in this endless rabbit hole. Yeah, my first server was old hardware as well, but then I quickly realized that like I could do this if I had something newer. Like I think I was running like I think my first server was like a Pentium 3 or something, and it was just struggling like crazy. So I ended up buying like an Atom box, which is great. The home server has an i5, but it's unplugged because it plugged in a P4. You madman. Oh, that's your gaming box, right? You're trying to play games on that? So I think we want to mock out some more of this logic so we can do the watching function and the channel closing. So I think I copied and pasted some of that, but the idea is I want to go through every channel and close them all whenever the watcher closes. So what am I looking at? So first we want to make the watch function swappable. Where is it? Right here. The Windows 98 box I'm trying to fix. Yes. Yikes. I thought Pentium 4 was after Windows 98, actually. Because our Pentium 4 machine was XP. Watch is a func that takes a context and will watch until an error occurs, right? So watch equals WOS watch. So by default, we call the OS watching function, but we also call the watching function, and then whenever the context is canceled, we close all the channels. So, oops, let's see here. So defer func. WMU lock, unlock, WMU, Western Michigan University, my school. Let's see here. So W changes needs to be cleared out. So W changes, close. Close them all, right? Oh, for every channel within there. CSC. This SKU from IBM was early 2001, so it shipped with Windows 98 in Europe and Windows 2000 in the US. Interesting. I guess my family got a Pentium 4 later in the life cycle than I expected then. Should also probably clear out the tentative map as well. So all the channels will be closed. And now what we do is we call watch directive, but we swap the watch function in our tests. That'll make things easier for us. So you watch context CTX cancel context with cancel context background defer cancel. No Windows ME. My parents had ME on the family computer growing up. No, thank you. Yeah. I actually never had ME. CTX context. Process messages and then block. Am I even doing what I want right now? I don't know. We swap out the watching function. We're skipping straight to the processing step with an input set of messages that we predetermined. The watching function needs to return an error to the caller, so I guess we'll return nil. So when we're done processing, all the channels will be closed, but does that mean the channels have been drained in the meantime? I'm not sure if this is right, but we're going to roll with it for a sec and see what happens. Oh. Fatal failed to watch. Emmy was something else. Control Alt Delete. It's the impression I'm getting as well. So this is finishing test execution before we even get a chance to read on the channels. Oh, because I'm not starting the go routines until down here. That's why. That's silly. Okay, so now we need some... Now we need like a wait group. So... I need a way of signaling that we're done processing and this is all done getting the messages. I'm not liking this. This isn't right yet. Okay, so we get one message. But these are still going to read from the channels until they're closed. So what I need to do is I need to cancel the context once all the messages have been read or something. So maybe I'll make like a signal message or something, like a semaphore type thing in here. This is cheating, but csys equals route netlink neighbor message. There are no neighbor messages in this program. Then we break. Or then we'll cancel the context, which will break the cancel and return. Something like that. Still hung. Oh, we're not sending a neighbor message. Right. Still? Log print line, cancel. When do you get another emote slot? I would like a control delete emote. Let's see here. So we are at 11 subscribers, and I think we need 35 to get another slot. So I'm not going to push on it that hard. I think the next one we talked about was like something like a no else allowed, but we can always change it up. Cozy Kubu, thank you for the follow. Why isn't this canceling? It's because process doesn't actually do anything with neighbor messages. Right. So we need a different kind of sentinel here. That's not gonna work. That's a hack anyway. I don't like it. How do I do this? What's a good way to do this? So we want to process the messages and make sure the go routines consume them, but then we want to stop the go routines after a certain point in time. This is the problem with channels and APIs, is you always end up in these annoying situations, you know? I guess we could add a callback, but no. After a count. Yeah, I mean, that's the cheating way, right? Call cancel. Yeah, I mean, that is one way to do it, you know? I equals the len of TT messages. Cancel. Something like that, right? I mean, I feel like when you're doing like a for range over a, whenever you're doing like a for range over a channel like this, like doing a counter feels like a hack to me, but is this an off by 1? I think it might be. Yeah, it was. So that works. It feels like a hack, but I guess it's probably fine, you know? But if the other side legitimately doesn't end, yeah, that's true. Well, we care about the ones with the IP address and the flags eventually too, but shoot. 1 closer to 35. Oh, I haven't gotten an alert for it yet, but thank you for the subscription. Huh, is that weird? I appreciate that, thank you. Yeah, no alert. Wonder if Twitch is bogged down for some reason. I'm gonna cheat a little bit there. Oh, you just linked your Amazon account. Maybe Twitch Prime is different. Yeah, I'm not sure, honestly. But thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so this works now. So let's see here. Usually announces Prime subs. Yes, it usually does. Who knows what Twitch broke? Didn't mention sub in the chat either. Yeah, that's so strange. But thank you. I appreciate that. Sync wait group. I'm not gonna like push on it. It's not that big of a deal. But you know, we've got 3 emotes. It's good enough. Wait. That would done. Yes, done. That would have been a nuisance. For WG done. Okay. So this is working. This message is completely ignored. I'll drop 10 gift subs for every Exos you send me. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could just drop 20 gift subs for myself or something and get that emote slot, but... Nice. Let's see here. So pass link messages. So this message creates the link association and updates the index so the next message has the appropriate interface name linked with it. So the changes we expect to see here, we're going to populate it in the Go routine. Then when the Go routine's done, we're going to examine it, I think. And changes with C. Then we'll check it when we're done. So when the Go routine is stopped, WG wait. We know there's no longer any risk of a data race. I deferred WG done twice, didn't I? Wait. Well, I guess I don't need to anymore. So now we compare the changes in the here with the changes otherwise. So unexpected changes. Okay. The error with the thinking. That's great. Hey, there we go. We have our first test, kind of. We'll clean this up some more, too. I'm not happy with it yet, but baby steps. So first we have a link change. Interface, test 0. State is state down. What actually is an error? If the error is underscore, does it actually exist? No, it does not. State down, link down, right? Ah! Unexported fields. Oh, the sys. Yeah, Shit. I guess for now we're gonna ignore the unexported, but we're gonna need to check it in a little bit anyway. Ignore opt. I can never remember the damn syntax for this stuff. Okay. There's an option that lets you ignore unexported fields, which is what I want for now. For this comparison. Allow unexported, that's not what I want. I want the opt package. Yeah, I think we're going to get this test done and we're going to wrap the stream. I'm just not feeling it as much today, unfortunately. I'm having a good time. I'm just like mentally not like ready for it or something, you know. Comp ops. Ignore unexported. There we go. So we're going to ignore fields. Oh, you can ignore a field? Okay, so we can just ignore the sys field, I guess. That's fine. So ignore opt. Returns a CMP option. What am I doing? The Rust documentation on async has a bunch of to-do with nothing written. Awesome. Yeah, it sounds about right. I know they're working on it, but it's one of those things where it just can take a while to be created, unfortunately. Ignore unexported. I guess that's fine for now. Hey, Taryn, are you going to stream after this? I'd be happy to throw you a raid in like, I don't know, the next 10 or 15 minutes if you're interested. Oh, we want to ignore, no, not the route net, like we got to ignore our own types. So link change and address change. Alphabetize. That should work. Comp. You probably won't be starting until after that, no worries. Cool. Gotcha. CMP option, yeah, that's what we're returning. Ignore opt. We gotta invoke it. There we go. Okay. If you all aren't already, you should follow Console Log on Twitch. So Console Log is Taryn's programming streaming account. So twitch.tv/console log. Sounds like he's going to be streaming later today. I believe I will probably be unavailable. I've got plans and, well, I guess if you're going to be streaming the next like hour or so, I'll probably be around, but I'm going to be leaving home probably in about hour and a half-ish. We have an address change as well, so that address change gets parsed into this. Right? Hey, it passes. Okay, excellent. Nothing tentative, right? That's what we'd expect. Interface doesn't exist. Yeah, we've got a lot more work to do on this, but I think that we're ultimately kind of in a better position now with the new code. We should try and make it so the link changes interfaces, though. Went to go follow, and apparently I already am. Don't know when that happened. Yeah, I think I've raided Terran at least once before, but my plan was to do shortly before noon to 3 and pass stuff to Zig for their big announcement then. Gotcha. Nice. Nice. Big announcement as in, is it public knowledge yet or no? I'm just curious as well. So pretend the interface was recreated with a new with a new index. So now test 0 lives in a different index where we're going to get operator state up. And this should also appear in our map. Yes, it does. Excellent. Is there no test O link up? That works. Excellent. Oh, Andrew DM'd his sponsors to let them know, and the Zig Show page has hints to it. Cool. Oh, yeah, keep me posted. I'd be curious. Post it in the networking channel and stuff. Is there a Zig channel on Gopher Slack yet? I'd be interested in checking that out, actually. There is not a Zig channel. You should make one. Cool. So this proves that our address following... Yeah, it doesn't exist yet. Our address, or our link following logic works because we're watching for test 0. So if test 0 is deleted and comes back, was deleted and recreated with a new index. If test 0 comes back with a new index, now we get that index as well, and we'll make sure this message is still associated too. And we're going to want more information in here, such as the IP address flags and such. We just don't have it yet. Let's see here. So interface. We're going to want to break out these test cases a little bit more for sure. So let's just call this to do for now. To do break into multiple cases. To do this math won't work if more than one message is ignored in the input. That's weird. Like 8 my keystrokes. So for this test, we create a watcher, we subscribe to changes for test 0, and we'll cancel it whenever we are able to do so. So, okay. Listen for changes and add them to a slice for a later comparison. Implement the watching function by processing a fixed set of input messages and then canceling the context, and then returning once the context has been canceled by the client. Finally, compare the changes, ignoring the unexported sys data. We're going to have to compare the sys data somewhere else, but I feel pretty good about this so far. I think we're making progress, you know, and that's something. There's value in that. This isn't integrated into CoreRAD or anything yet, and I want to write more tests, especially for the actual route netlink stuff, but I feel pretty good about this. Like, I think that we're going in a solid direction, and that's more than I would have expected for today. So, man, got quite a few folks here today. Hey, thank you for hanging out. I always feel bad like when I'm wrapping up a stream and a whole bunch of people are here, you know, but I guess what are you gonna do? You did create a Zig channel. Nice. I will join that. I'm curious. Gophers who also use Zig. Don't leave us. I'll miss you. I like don't want to like stop. I'm just like not. I don't know. I guess I just want to chill. Let's see. What else needs to be cleaned up? We can write some docs and stuff too, I suppose. So, operational state describes the operational state of a network interface. A change is an event created by the watcher that indicates a network device state change, such as interface, up, down, or IP address addition removal. Just Matt and the rest of us too. Mostly Matt. Let's see here. So change equals link change. Change equals address change as well. Alphabetize, yo. Man, I'm gonna buy one of those damn COBOL NASs like right after the stream probably. Like, my problem is I get an idea in my head and then I'm like, I need this. I definitely need it. And then I don't know. And I guess according to Dominic, maybe I should look at Seagate Exos. So I'm curious now. Amazon Seagate Exos 8 terabyte. I'm like always like afraid of Seagate though after like a couple bad experiences. Vepo Denario, thank you so much for the follow. But these are so cheap too, like 187. I feel like that's like unheard of for 7200 like enterprise type drive. And these are for NASs. Why is Exos cheaper than Ironwolf? Like, how does that make sense? Isn't Ironwolf the consumer version? Exos are really cheap. That is concerning. Because I know like Linus is always talking about Ironwolves. Weird. Because Reds are 5400 RPM and they're more expensive. Linus did have to use Exos for his 2 petabyte build, yeah. I mean, in theory, aren't the Reds are a scan to begin with? In theory, aren't the like things like Ironwolves and Reds, they're only rated for installations with up to 8 drives, right? Like that's the like for home NAS usage. But once you get beyond that, you're supposed to go to like Red Pro or Gold or Exos, right? Isn't that the theory? Yeah, see, it's specifically designed for use in NAS systems with up to 8 bays. So alphabetize. It looks like at least some Exos or SMR. Really? Right, 16 with Red Pro or Ironwolf Plus. Yeah, Dominic, did you get Exos SMR drives? Hopefully you're 16 terabytes or not. Hi, did I miss too much? Yeah, we're actually probably going to be wrapping up pretty soon. Did you announce your stream times anywhere? Yeah, I posted on Twitter. I posted on Twitter yesterday that I was going to be streaming tomorrow. Tomorrow around like 11 a.m. Eastern, and then I posted on Twitter again today when we got started. So if you are not following me, check out social. We also have, so Twitter is where I usually will announce things, but we also have, what do you call it? I think in my stream description, I actually have a Google Calendar linked. The Exos 5E8 RSMR, really? Exos 5E8. Why, how in the world is the, for Exos, you really want 10 terabyte plus? That's so weird. You're following, but you guys just missed it. Yeah, sorry about that. Seagate does market its archive and Exos lines of HDDs are employing SMR, but mention of the technique is buried in their data sheets, but no idea if that applies to all Exos drives or just some models. Huh. Well, now you've got me afraid. Dominic H checks me bought SMR drives. Yeah, after you've been stress testing them for like 4 days. That isn't, so this is so weird. So Exos 5E8 and then just Exos. Is this a older generation perhaps? Is that the issue here? Exos 7E8, 8 terabyte. Why are they so cheap? Well, shoot, maybe I'll buy Exos. I don't know. I've been doing WD Reds for the past like 10 years, but yeah, there are different lines of Exos. None of those numbers mean anything to me though, so I guess you would know better than I would. I'm curious which drives you bought. Yes, so my strands. Yes, there was some noise on WD also selling some RAID disks with SMR that would simply never work with any ZFS pool. Yes, I think all of the REDs from like 1 to 4 terabyte were all SMR. But I've got 8 terabyte REDs, so I think mine are good, and I think the current 8 terabyte REDs are also fine. But let's see here. CMR. Oh, so Seagate. Of course, the Seagate sponsored it and explicitly mentioned CMR now. That's funny. Yeah, I've got 8 terabyte REDs, but mine are from 2017 as well. When they release that size in terabyte, they also release a new line which tops out at that size and has some smaller drives. X16 has from 10 to 16 terabytes, for example. Interesting. You buy external drives, which are cheaper than buying external drives, don't store anything important. And WD ones use red drives. Yeah, you mean as far as like shucking drives? Like I know it's a thing people do. I haven't done that myself. I'm afraid of like having to keep all the cases around and like put them back together and breaking stuff. And I don't know. I guess maybe it's worth it, but I haven't done it yet. And I'm sure WD is onto that, and I'm curious what they'll say about like that in the future. So address change, say change relating to an interfaces IP addresses. They seem to have X10 with 8 terabyte. Newer generations start at 10 terabyte. Interesting. So X10s are what you have, Dominic? X10 might end up more expensive than Ironwolf. X10's pretty old. Gotcha. Sys returns the sys implements change. You have X16s. Okay. Yeah, I'll do some research. A link change is a change relating to a network interface's link state. We figured that out. Subscribe. So this actually has the same dot comment as before, I would think. Let's go steal that. You'll probably want a little spreadsheet to figure out this madness. Yeah, that's the impression I'm getting here for sure. Registers interest for state changes for changes on a network interface between buffer channel changes. It reaches capacity, will be dropped. Yeah, I guess I probably should do like a non-blocking send, shouldn't I? That'd be a good idea. Okay, so yes, we can immediately associate its name index and begin sending changes on that channel. No, we must determine the interface index later, and we'll mark this channel as tentative since it cannot receive any current events. When watch returns, clean up, close all registered channels, all subscribed channels. Subscribed channels. Delete. W changes. As for why are Exos so cheap, WD often puts enterprise drives in their externals, so who knows what drives really ought to cost? Yeah, that's a good point. delete W changes K. We'll clean up afterward. Delete W W tentative K. Also subscribe channels and clean up the state maps. Subscription maps. It's called multiple times, it will panic. Yes, it's fine. Watch is a function which will normally call OS specific primitives to watch for changes, but can also be swapped for testing. Another thing I wanted to port over, I want to make sure that if you call watch more than once, you get a panic. Because, well, yeah, that does seem like a misuse to me, actually. So. Someone might find interesting. I watched YouTube videos from GopherCon Europe. Nice. I hope you saw my video. Nice. Like to see the CAN library in Go. Maybe mixing Go crates would be interesting. Yeah, totally. CAN is pretty cool. I don't know much about it, but the fact that they were able to like control a car using Go is like pretty sick, right? I mean. Iko Varden, thank you so much for the follow. So let's see here. Guards all of the following maps. And index and reverse index of interface names and indices. Exos have 5-year warranty instead of 3 as well, and are cheaper. Yeah, I'm probably going to be Seagate this time around, I think. Because I know WD Reds used to be 5 years as well, and they dropped it because now you got to buy Red Pros. Like, it seems like the stuff WD is doing is just pretty unfortunate, you know. So maybe it is time to give Seagate another shot. I mean, I only had a bad experience with Seagate because I had what was it? Actually, I guess I did have a good experience with Seagate at one point too, but the bad experience I had was the first Seagate 1.5 terabyte drive. Like, I lost like 3 of them, and I got to the point where I just stopped trying. They just were crazy problematic. But then the Seagate Momentus XT was a pretty cool little like hybrid drive back in the day when SSDs were really expensive, so I had that in my laptop. Back when I was still at sysadmin, we would avoid Seagate drives at all costs simply because we probably had 5 times as many failed Seagate drives compared to all other vendors combined. Yeah, that was my philosophy as well. But that was some years ago. Backblaze stats for modern Seagate look good. Yeah, and Backblaze clearly would know a lot more than I would, so I'm tempted to trust them. Maps of change channels where changes means an interface is already created and can receive events, and tentative indicates the interface does not exist currently but may in the future. Yeah, I'll probably buy Seagate. That's cool. It's cool to it's one of those things like where, you know, Intel for a long time made, you know, the best processors and stuff, and you were going with Intel, but you kind of saw them start to slow innovation and perhaps make some missteps and stuff. And I guess it really is kind of the same thing with WD and Seagate, right? Like, I totally had written off AMD several years ago, and now I buy all AMD stuff, and perhaps it's time to think about Seagate in the same way, you know? It seems like they are being more honest with their customers. They're pricing drives competitively. They're offering longer warranties. And they're not doing the WD stuff like, you know, hiding SMR drives. So it is sad. It is sad for sure. But I mean, ultimately, I guess it's the same. Like I said, it's the same logic as with Intel. Like I should vote with my wallet and support Seagate for doing well, and punish WD. I mean, not that it matters to me as one consumer, but I think WD has pissed off a lot of home lab consumers. Home lab type consumers. WD drives used to be pretty good value. Yeah, definitely. For sure. I just realized I should make Dominic happy by making this atomic pointer down here instead. There we go. Create all the maps. By default, call into OS specific code. Watch with OS specific code. We're getting there. Let's see here. I don't like committing like unclean code, WD Red was always a bit scammy. Basically, WD Greens with TLER enabled, asking you to pay more for a firmware flag. Yeah, that's true. I mean, ultimately, I think Red Pros are the same physical drives, which is with a different firmware too. That's what a friend who worked at WD said. So I'd be tempted to believe him. I think we need to add stubs for other OSs, just the not implemented stuff at the moment. So let's see here. Yeah, copy, paste. That's state 2. These are all net state 2 at the moment, right? So, FreeBSD. Watcher. There we go. Any ideas how you do BSD? No idea. No idea at the moment. I think that BSD is going to be IOCTL land, unfortunately, but I don't know. Something we'll want to look into. It's something I would like to make work for sure, but I don't know enough right now. So, but you can actually run CoreRAD on FreeBSD and stuff, and it does work fine. It's just it's not as intelligent about picking up state changes among other things. So, we'll see. Whoopty, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. I think we might be in a good place to stop this for today. Let's see. Let's check the coverage. Yeah, we're just over 3 hours. Hey, Taryn, you should stream an hour early. Nil attributes, yeah. Yeah. What other tests do I have here? Is there any tests I can take care of? Process. Yeah, we can actually create like a dummy interface and test the real code, I suppose. Do I care enough to copy this test over? Maybe I should. Test integration watch. Let's copy this and see if we can get this working really quick, or in a somewhat quick fashion. Watcher Linux test. This is going to be Watcher Linux internal test. So now I think we need a build tag. Only on Linux. net state 2 test. So internal net state 2. 2. What the heck? Oh, this is why. Let's see here. You subscribe to the dummy interface changes. Trigger changes, bring the interface up and down. Net state 2 changes. So let's see here. Just dump this to the screen. Let's see how this test still works. So spew, dump, changes, right? You really have to have privileges to create a dummy interface. That's so silly. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but let's see here. Sudo test.v. Okay. All right, it works. That's good news, I suppose. So we have a link change with the interface, its state, an address change for the link local address, which is going to be completely non-deterministic. T Mandar, welcome. Thank you for the follow as well. Well, seems to work. We'll copy this logic as is, and then we'll look at this in the future. So to do, verify the actual changes. Because we need to figure out how we're going to compare these sys things. We just don't have a good way of doing it at the moment. So you could create the dummy with a fixed MAC to force deterministic IPv6 LLA. Yes, I could, couldn't I? Yeah, that would be an option. I just don't know if I want to get into it today, but I suppose as long as this works. Let's check the coverage now, actually. So yeah, so go test dash cover dash C sudo dash test.cover profile cover.out. Go tool HTML. Tool HTML. Guide me, please. I've learned Python. I don't know what to do with it or what to do next. The thing is like, so you learned a language, like what's your goal, right? Like for me, like I would pick a project I'm interested in and work on that. But ultimately, like learning a language and not knowing what to do with it and do next, like, you know, why'd you start in the first place? Like, what was your goal? I think that's the kind of thing you'd want to think about. Cover.out. Go to a cover dash HTML cover.out. Where is this going to appear? Probably in the totally wrong browser. Let's try down here. Yeah, I did. All right, one sec. Here we go. So here is our current coverage profile. Getting both cases, that's good. Tentative and non-tentative. I feel like we made more progress on this today than I honestly thought we would. Pretty cool. Well, gang, I think I'm going to commit this and we're going to wrap up the stream, I think. It's been about 3 hours. It's usually a good time, and I'm just not, I don't know, not quite there. So, test integration, watch or watch, test Linux integration. Watch or watch, yeah. This is just a copy and paste, basically, of the old code, which means that it works, which is good. So we swapped up the underlying functionality with our own new stuff, which is good. Cool. I think I'm going to, let's see here. So internal netstate 2 star. We don't want the binary for sure. Test. Cool. Netstate 2 initial commit, I guess. So internal netstate 2 initial work in progress commit. I feel good about it, though. I think that we're approaching this problem in a much more sane way now by splitting it out to different OSs and also allowing the caller to get a hold of the OS specific stuff. So yeah, thank you all for hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. Let's see if there's anybody we can go through a raid to, since Terran's not going to be streaming for a while. So all right, let's see here. Twitch.tv. Well, since Terran's not streaming, it's looking like we're going to raid Laserbelch, who is also playing... Sorry, I played unusual on time. Yeah, no worries. I just... Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I think we're going to stream... I think we're going to raid Laserbelch. Laser is a good guy. He's playing Super Mario World. He is almost done with Yump 2, which is a pretty interesting Mario World ROM hack. So, yeah, he has just a few exits left. Yeah, he's down to... Looks like he's 95 out of 104. So we're going to send a raid over to Laserbelch. Exciting stuff. So yeah, thank you all for hanging out. I appreciate it. And take care. I will see you next time. Later.